But there's still a couple of us who are like, looking forward to it in the next hour or two. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Rebecca Hernandez. I'm an assistant director here at DePaul University. So I actually want to welcome you this morning to DePaul. Before I officially introduce myself, I want to just give you a quick rundown of what your morning is going to look like today. So we're going to go through this about 45-minute information session. It's going to be compiled into a 2-hour experience. So this 45-minute information session is going to give you some general information about DePaul. A lot of important information that, whether this be your first or your 10th information session or university visit, you're going to be hearing some of the same information, but at the same time, I hope that this presentation can open your eyes to what type of things you're looking for in your college search. Then after that, you're going to go on an hour tour, and that's going to be supplemental to this. So a lot of some information you might have questions about. I'll leave some time to answer those questions. But if there's anything about, more in depth about housing, more in depth about the student experience, student involvement, also leave some time to have those questions for our tour guides, because they're the true experts and the true gurus of that DePaul experience. So I want to make sure that I also give them some credit and some time to be able to share that with you and share that their experience here with you during that about 45-minute, also to an hour-long tour. So before we officially get started, I always like to gauge my audience. So how many of you are here from the U.S.? Anyone here from Hawaii? No. That one on Saturday, that was like my farthest right. I was like, okay, you win. No one else is getting anything. What about from the East Coast? Okay, great. West Coast? No one. My Chicagoland, Illinois area students? Oh, great. We're all here. We're all family today. Awesome. What about all of my freshmen or sophomores? No brave souls here today. Good. Juniors? Awesome. What about all my rising seniors? Great. You're like, okay, now I'm really bringing the need to be here. You're really like, I gotta get this going. I gotta figure out what college I'm going to be applying to. Awesome. What about any younger siblings brought against their will? There's a couple. Yeah. We'll throw in some Pokemon jokes in there. I got you. Full support of it's never too early. Great. So I like to kind of gauge my audience so that a lot of the information that I share with you today is specific to you, right? As general as it might be, I still want to cater some of those needs and wants that you're going to have. So before we, again, officially get started, I also do want to introduce myself. As I noted before, I am an assistant director here, but all of us that are here in this office are going to be a resource to you. So when you come back from your tour, you still have some maybe more general questions, or you might need help with anything additional, maybe during the application process you have more questions. You are each assigned an admission counselor based on your high school or your location. So if that's not me, I will give you the schools that I am a part of. But if that's not me, when you come back from your tour, you can get that information so you have someone that you can contact beyond your visit here today. We're all good? Awesome. All right, let's officially get started by, many of you might be like, Rebecca, wow, you're already throwing life at me. Now, I'm not here to talk about the book of life or the game of life, but I am here to kind of give you some information or really make you think about what point you are in your life here today. Now, when I asked you to raise your hands, many of you were juniors, right? At this point, you're still trying to figure out, like, I know I'm going to be applying to college in the next year, but right now, maybe I'm a little bit more worried about my ACT or SAT. I'm still trying to pick up my grades or trying to make sure that I get my 4.0, trying to still be involved with, different organizations on campus. But for my seniors, you're at that crunch time right now, right? This might be your first visit. This might be your 10th visit, and parents are still trying to figure out, like, I really need you to narrow down this list of schools that you're applying to. So all of you are at different points of your life. But there is one thing that you share and that you have in common, even though you all are at different points of your life. And that is that your story, this story that you're about to build, really one of the biggest parts and one of the biggest chapters is this college search. And that is something that you all do share. So what I want you to think about today is keep an open mind, set some time to think about how DePaul can add to your life story, but also also try to figure out if DePaul isn't that school for you today, if you find out that maybe DePaul doesn't have what I need, I hope that it also provides you some opportunities to find out what are those things that you are going to need. So this college search is really going to add to your life story. And before we officially get started into giving you all of this general information, I want you to hear what our students have to say about how DePaul added to their life story.
So after graduation, I got a job as an English teacher in Japan, and that's why I chose DePaul because of the animation program, but then also
Universities can add some really great chapters to your life. But the session that you're here to see today is how DePaul can add to that. And so I want, again, to give you an opportunity to hear about DePaul, hear about our education, our environment, and our ethos. So the first thing that we're going to touch on today is giving you that general information, right? All of that nitty-gritty information that you probably hear, and it's the most common information. So what you see here on the screen, we were founded in 1898. We are named after St. Vincent de Paul. There are a couple things that even when I was in your shoes, sitting in this auditorium, that caught my eye, that were very unique to the experience of DePaul. One is that we're a little over 23,000 students, getting close to 25,000 students. We have a 15-to-1 faculty to student ratio, but our undergraduate students are getting close to that 16,000. Now these numbers might seem very large, so we are a medium to large institution, but if you see that faculty to student ratio, I'm a visual person, so I like to see, okay, that's a pretty large number of students. But what is my classroom experience truly going to be like? So when you think about that student to faculty to student ratio, you see that the classes on average are still smaller. So they're anywhere between 21 to 27 students on average. So I'm a visual learner, so if you were to think about the type of classroom environment, if we were to fill these first 3 rows, this is what your average classroom size might look like. Now the largest classroom space might, if you were to fill in the next 2 rows, so the 5th and 6th row, that might be the largest classroom space you're going to have. So even though that number is still fairly big, the type of classroom experience you're going to have is a little bit more intimate. Definitely get to know your professor a little bit more, get to know your peers as well. Another big thing that was very important to me was also the diversity, right? Seeing where our students were coming from, seeing the different states that they were coming from. And that biggest thing was that 98% of our classes are taught by professors. And that is what's going to summarize this presentation overall, is that when you have built several of these visits, and when you go on several visits, I want you to remember how DePaul wants to be identified. And that's why our education, our environment, and our ethos. Our education, we're a 4-year private liberal arts institution, so we're going to talk about how that liberal arts education really encompasses our students to create more well-rounded students, both academically but also creating leaders in our community but also worldwide. Our environment, Chicago is our classroom as well. And really DePaul has set the ground and has set the groundwork so that our students can also have some of the best internship opportunities across the city. Also have the exposure to volunteer within 300 different non-for-profits that we are partnered with. And then our ethos, that's really the heart of DePaul. Many of you might be here also because you share maybe some of the same Vincentian values. Or you might be looking for that diversity, right? A school that is diverse, that has some of that well-rounded education. I hope that that summarizes your experience here today. And the first thing that we're going to dive into is that education piece and that component. Now, as we dive into that education component, as I've noted before, I want you to keep an open mind. Many of you, this might be your first college visit, and so you might be wondering, what are some of these majors that I'm going to be involved in or that I'm going to choose from? Many of you, this might be the first time that you're making one of the biggest choices in your life, maybe even on your own. So you are on your own, so I want you to keep that open mind. And we hope that with this open mind that you keep, DePaul is also going to open doors of opportunity for you. So with that open mind, these doors of opportunity are going to vary anywhere from internship opportunities, maybe it's a study abroad opportunity that you're involved in, or the service component that you have, that service opportunity that you're going to be involved in. And so I want you to watch a quick video about how DePaul likes to summarize our education before we officially dive into some of these academic majors that you might be a part of.
DePaul is a university that's important.
And so now let's dive into that education component. And we like to summarize our education by the breadth, meaning the type of choices that you're going to have, the number of choices that you're going to have. The choice meaning that it's not only going to be your academic major, it's also going to be those study abroad opportunities, pushing you beyond the classroom. And then also the prestige, right? The rankings that have come with our education. And so I like to keep things a little interactive. So if I can have you open up your folder, the first thing we're going to take a look at is pulling out the It Begins Here brochure. So it should be on the left-hand side. Should be some clouds up on the top. There you go. So this It Begins Here brochure is a kind of an overview of this presentation here today. But I want you to take some time to open it up to about the third page there. There's an orange flap. Go and pull that out. And I want to give you just a few minutes to take it all in. So as you go through that list, you'll see all of our undergraduate majors. You'll see in bold and black the name of each one of our colleges. You'll also see a couple of our majors that have an asterisk next to them that offers a 4+1 degree. So you can get your master's in just 5 years as opposed to 6. But also just taking the time to take a look at what you can be offered. For many of you, you might not have known you can major in neuroscience, or in criminology, or in accounting, in finance, in entrepreneurship, or in film and television. There's a variety of academic majors that you can have here at DePaul. And that opportunity, I want you to take the time to take a look at those. Even for my students that might be a little bit undecided, we talked about this idea that all of you might be coming from different parts and different walks of life. As juniors, you might not exactly have to yet determine what your academic major might be. And for my seniors, you might still be a little bit undecided. So for those students that are undecided, you would be moved into our College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences as undecided to give you the opportunity to take multiple classes and then determine your academic major by the end of your sophomore year. So that's a quick overview. I wanted to give you some time to look at those academic majors. Up here at the top and what you'll see on the screen is a quick rundown of just the academic colleges. And these are very important because I want to give you the opportunity to see the depth that we have in terms of our colleges. So we have our Treehouse College of Business, our College of Communication, and our College of Computing and Digital Media. Those three are located in our Loop campus. Then we have our College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences, our College of Science and Health, our College of Education, Theater, and Music. Those 5 are all located here in our Lincoln Park campus. And then we have our School for New Learning and our College of Law. Those are located in our Loop campus as well. Our School for New Learning is for our adult students. We always like to joke around if you want your parents to come to college with you, they might be in our School for New Learning. And then we have our College of Law, which is for any of our students that are thinking of going into law school. We do have a 3+3 BA to JD program that you do get invited to based on your academic profile or your application. But something about the College of Law is that, as we noted before, there are some academic majors that have an asterisk next to them. This College of Law might just show you that, is that the only graduate level program that you have, right? Is this the only opportunity for graduate students to be a part of DePaul? And it isn't. That asterisk shows you that several of our undergraduate programs, you can complete your master's within 5 years as opposed to 6. So for any students that might be interested in psychology, that's a really big one for our students because we recognize that a BA or a BS might not be as competitive. You might not be able to practice, where with a master's you might be able to. Now, a quick thing about this slide as well is that I always like to gauge with my students that many of you, if you raise your hand, how many of you are taking any AP, honors, or IB level courses? Great, okay, so actually about half of you. So you like that challenge that comes with that curriculum. So I might invite you to think about opportunities depending on your grades and your test scores. We usually see students with anywhere in their ACT at least a 27 or above, and at least a 3.5 GPA to be invited to several of our honors programs. Since you're already experiencing that rigor with that curriculum, it's going to be a little bit heavier on reading and writing, but we have several honors programs. So we have our university honors program that focuses on taking the same liberal arts classes with the same group of students. Then we also have our Strobel honors program for any of our students within our Treehouse College of Business. We also have our Pathways Honors programs for students that are interested in maybe going that pre-med route. We do have a medical school that we're partnered with, Rosalind Franklin School of Medicine, and it gives you the opportunity to apply to medical school at an earlier stage. And then finally, we have that 3+3 BA to JD program for any of our students that are interested in going into law school. There are several academic majors that are under that, under a College of Liberal Arts. One of them being criminology, which tends to be the most popular one, political science, and several others that you can partner with that 3+3 BA to JD program. So that curriculum, that rigor is there, and that's really a big focus of our liberal arts education here at DePaul, is making sure that our students have a well-rounded education. With the liberal arts core, you are going to have your liberal arts curriculum that provides you the opportunity to take some science classes, some math courses, a little bit of everything. And then you're going to have your major core curriculum. So those are going to be whether it's accountancy, whether it's criminology, whether it's neuroscience, that's going to be your academic course. So again, creating those well-rounded students. But then we also have that opportunity that we talked about, providing you that opportunity of those doors, right? Those doors of opportunity that we hope push you beyond the classroom. And that's what we hope you're going to utilize with our over 80 different study abroad opportunities. 6 of them, a big thing about DePaul is just 6 of them are available for our first year students. So you can, if you wish, you can study abroad during the first, actually about 3 months here at DePaul that you're going to be here. And the way that we provide that opportunity is through our quarter system. So one thing is that most schools, if you're familiar with them, are on the semester system. We are on the quarter system. So with fall, winter, and spring, those are the 3 quarters that we require here at DePaul. Between fall and winter, we have a 6-week break where our students can study abroad. So that's that opportunity that we provide our students. Outside of that, though, you have 74 others where you can study abroad through your 4 years here. And that is encompasses through an experiential learning that we provide our students. So you can study abroad, you can have an internship opportunity that is going to be a requirement for all of our students here. But beyond that, beyond just studying abroad, are there any students here that are more on the creative end? Maybe you want to start your own business in the future? Maybe you want to have not only your own business, but maybe you want to be a future CEO, right? These are the type of opportunities that we provide our students. So we have here an idea realization lab for all of our students that tend to have more of those creative juices and want to see those come to fruition. Or we do have our Coleman Entrepreneurship Center. So for our students that have more of that entrepreneurship end of things, we do hope that we provide you that opportunity to maybe one day start your own business. And then for our students that maybe are wanting to get ahead of this in the film industry, and LA maybe might not be the best option for you. Maybe you want to be here in Chicago, right? That's one of the reasons why you're looking at Chicago schools. We have the 2nd largest production company outside of LA here in Chicago. It's called CineSpace. But if LA is an opportunity for you and you want to experience LA, we do have an LA quarter as an opportunity for you to take advantage of. Those are for all my students interested in film and television. So that type of exposure is what comes with a DePaul education. It's not only in the classroom, it's also pushing you beyond, giving you that opportunity beyond just studying abroad and having those internship opportunities. And that's where we utilize really our career center and where we've gotten these rankings. It's through our education. One of the biggest things that I like to share here with our students and that we'll touch on in the next few slides is that ranked number 11 among Peace Corps top universities. We just added 8 Fulbright scholars to our name. That's something we're really proud of. Again, that push beyond just the classroom really is emphasizing our students to not only be leaders on campus, but also leaders in the community and worldwide. Now, something that I want you to think about is also how big your dreams might be able to become, or how big they are at the very moment. Right now, many of you are still trying to think about all of these undergraduate majors, which one's going to be the right fit for me. And so I hope that these dreams that you're thinking about in the next 4 years, or maybe just within this next year, that you're going to make that big jump to this big college search, this big decision that you're going to make on your own. I hope that you realize that the best time to have these big dreams is in a big city. And as corny as that may sound, I think I don't ever talk to any student that doesn't bring up Chicago as one of the reasons that they're visiting here today. It is really the city, one of the reasons that the city is really drawing you in. And I want you to watch this quick video about how DePaul really emphasizes Chicago being our classroom and how we utilize our presence here in Chicago to benefit our students in the long run in their next 4 years here. And so we summarize our Chicago experience and the way that we utilize Chicago by the experience that you're going to have, right? Going beyond the classroom. The excitement that comes with being in the city of Chicago. Yes, we're also going to talk about some of the fun things that our students do beyond just the classroom, right? We recognize you're going to be here for the next 4 years, but not all 24 hours are going to be spent just at DePaul. We want you to engage with the city, both in that professional setting, but also in the setting that, you know, keeps you alive and keeps you free, keeps that kind of young spirit going. And then the opportunity that comes with already setting ground in Chicago. Those internship opportunities are going to come with the DePaul experience. And so the quick thing that we'll run through today is, now that you're here visiting today, you're probably wondering, you know, what type of campus environment is truly DePaul, right? Because a huge thing that we're recognized for is our duality, our dual campus. So a big important thing with DePaul is that we not only utilize Lincoln Park, which you're currently at right now. This is our main campus. This is more of that homey environment. Really what our students like to note is that this feels like a college campus. This is also where most of our students are going to live. So we have about 12 residential communities, and most of our students are going to be spending their time here, their first year or year and a half. The reason being because we have our College of Liberal Arts and Social Sciences located here. So you might be spending time taking those gen ed courses here in Lincoln Park. Now that homey environment also draws a lot of the Chicago experience. You have the lake, less than a 10-minute walk from here, as well as Lincoln Park Zoo, so you're able to take advantage of going on some excursions, maybe in between your classes or after class. A lot of our students will also go play volleyball. As staff here, we are big proponents of really getting outside of the Welcome Center, really pushing our students to go beyond just a quad area here. But a lot of our students see the quad area, even being in the city of Chicago, as that college campus feel. So again, Lincoln Park is also ranked one of the best neighborhoods to live in the city of Chicago. So that really also draws a lot of our students to be here in Lincoln Park. Now, the duality in that dual campus means that anything you find in one, you will also find in the other. So many of you are wondering, well, I heard a lot about these several colleges located in your Loop campus, right? That's about a 10 to 15 minute train ride from here. So we do require our students, if they're not gonna, you know, possibly maybe take an Uber, whatever their preference is, we do give a venture pass to our students so that they can utilize the train system with no cost because it's already included in their tuition. And as I noted, that's about a 10 to 15 minute train ride from here. Our Loop campus is that busy go-getter environment. That's right in the heart of the downtown area with top Fortune 500 companies all around. And that's why we also strategically placed our College of Computing and Digital Media there, our Driehaus College of Business, and our College of Communication there. So we want our students to engage with those internship opportunities, but also to be within walking distance of several wonderful excursions that you can go on, and we'll talk about that in the next few slides. We do have one of our dorm rooms that's also located in our Loop campus that is shared space with other universities in the area. So Robert Morris, Roosevelt University is also, also share space there. So the different styles of living that we have are going to be community style, apartment style, and suite style. So whatever style of living is more comfortable to you, there's definitely gonna be a space here. It's not only like freshman living and definitely based on year, it's really whatever your preference might be. And we'll talk a little bit about pricing and what tuition might look like in the next few slides. But for now, know that that duality is available. So anything you find here, you will also find in our Loop campus. Another important thing that I like to note to our students is this idea of our dual campus is really important for our students because we want you to engage in the city within a unique way. So one of the classes that you're gonna have to take here your freshman year is called Discover and Explore Chicago. It's called Discover and Explore Chicago. So many of you, I think when you raise your hand, how many of you are here from Illinois, the Chicagoland area? Think about most of you. So this Discover and Explore Chicago class, you might be wondering, okay, I'm a little familiar with Chicago. How is this going to benefit me? Is this going to be more so for our out-of-state students. I always hear that question, is that going to be for more out-of-state students? But as a student that was from Chicago myself, this class really helped me navigate and learn more about different neighborhoods across the city of Chicago. So it's called Discover or Explore. It's the same class, one just starts a week earlier. It is a requirement within our liberal arts curriculum, and it gives you the exposure with a theme to it. So for instance, there's food in Chicago, there's theater in Chicago, biking in Chicago. You're traveling through different neighborhoods of the city of Chicago. I took food in Chicago, so I traveled through different neighborhoods. The foodie in me was always happy, and I was like, oh my God, free food all the time, that's exciting. Knowing that, of course, it was included in my tuition. But at that time, I thought it was free, everything was wonderful. And I realized that that exposure helped me feel even more comfortable being in the city of Chicago, because you get comfortable where you live. I think if I even think about it, or maybe I ask you to think about that experience, you might be really comfortable in your neighborhood. You've gotten to know, all of your neighbors. You know that you're only going within a few miles to watch movies, to go to a certain restaurant that you might love, to go shopping. So you never really go beyond that, maybe besides the downtown area. So I think I push you to think about even that Discover and Explore Chicago as an opportunity for both our in-state and our out-of-state students. Now with that class, for my parents, I always see this look in your face, and you're like, is this only going to be, all fun and excursion? Where's the educational component to it? There is an educational component to this class. So there are going to be moments during that time where you're going to be spending time in the classroom, connecting that to more of a rigorous experience. So for instance, food in Chicago, I connected that back to how several neighborhoods in the city of Chicago have different access to food. So there is an educational component. And there's also a component to understand how we retain our students. So during your time in the classroom, there will also be times where several of our staff partners come present to our students about the resources that they have for our first year students. So any additional tutoring that you might need, additional scholarship opportunities, a book lending program, our Career Center to talk about the resume building opportunities. So several other opportunities to again remind you that it's not only important for us to recruit you, but also how we retain you. And that Discover and Explore Chicago class with that Venture Pass is also going to provide you the opportunity to engage with the city. More of that fun and cheerful way, and that's going to several of our theaters, taking advantage of the different foods in different neighborhoods, taking advantage of all the museums that are within walking distance of our new campus. But although that might also sound fun, and you might be thinking that that's the only component, the other component to it is that with this Discover and Explore Chicago class, these are oftentimes some of the opportunities that students come back to and find their internship opportunity there. So for instance, if you take theater in Chicago, you might be coming back to the Chicago Theater, Joffrey Theater, you might be coming back to Steppenwolf when you visited, but now as a junior coming back to ask for an internship opportunity there. So we always make this, we always are very intentional of ensuring that our students tie back their experience and those excursions to going beyond the classroom, those 4-year internship opportunities, or maybe what their future career path might look like. You always continue building those network opportunities with that exposure that we provide you. And through that, it's also how we've been founded by using Chicago as our classroom. One of the biggest things that I like to highlight is our Career Center. We talked about how that center comes to talk to our students during Discover and Explore Chicago, but it is also an opportunity throughout your 4 years here. I think I remember myself as a freshman student when I was a little bit scared to even go to their Career Center because I wasn't at that point yet. I was actually just starting to get my feet wet. I was still trying to figure out what my major was going to be, maybe changing my mind for the second or third time, which is all very common. And so when you find that the Career Center might be an opportunity for you to maybe have your resume reviewed, or maybe you want to have a mock interview because you know what your next point of interview is going to be, or maybe you want to take advantage of some student employment opportunities. Just last year, our Career Center hosted about 21,000 employment opportunities for our students and about over 7,000 internship opportunities. And just last year, we had over 350 companies come recruit our students throughout the year. So this doesn't only happen fall quarter, it also happens winter quarter and spring quarter as well. So again, that opportunity and that exposure to think beyond just your 4 years here, as many parents want, you want to think about what is that degree really going to provide my student, right? Just that education, that internship opportunity. And so as we've talked about here today, I also want to ask you, and I want to channel my students here, how many of you are also taking any community service hours based on your graduation requirements? Can I ask you how many are required of you? 30. Anybody else with a little bit over 30 or under 30? Anybody have 50 hours or over 50 hours? So when I was a student, I had about 30, right? Many of you kind of raised your hand, like I'm in between 30, 25 hours. Some have 10. When I was a student, I had, within my high school, I had about 50. The reason why I ask you that is because it is important for us to think about giving your education a deeper meaning. And this is really important for us because one of the experiences that you've had within high school and that you're gonna have here again at DePaul is that connection to service. That's our heart, right? We talked about our ethos, our Vincentian values. So it is, yes, wonderful to think about landing that dream job, right? Maybe you want to partner with one of those Fortune 500 companies, or maybe you want to start your own non-for-profit or start your own company, your own business. But it's important for us to think beyond that. And maybe I ask you to think about making a difference in somebody's life or giving back to your community, maybe going back to your neighborhood or going on a service trip when you're here at DePaul. So I want you to hear this quick video about our ethos, right? The heart of DePaul and the type of opportunities we also provide our students that give their education and their time here at DePaul a deeper meaning. And it truly is our heart. And I think that comes from our Vincentian values. There's a total of 4 Vincentian institutions across the nation, so we're the 4th one. And a big part of it is that St. Vincent de Paul always kept asking this question of what must be done. And that is a question that you will hear, maybe even on your tour from several of our students that always like to quote that, or even from ourselves as staff members. I think we even ask ourselves as we go through, now recruiting more students, having them come to DePaul, we always continue asking ourselves, what must be done, right? Our role plays a really important part in the education component, but also recruiting students here to DePaul and maybe changing the way that we see our access to education. So we're always continuously asking that question, what must be done? And so as a Vincentian institution, we're really proud of the way that we describe our institution, our Vincentian values, and that's through the type of sense of community that we build here. I kid you not, and I know it might sound as though it's very cliche, but I hope that you hear on your tour, and something that I know I continuously hear from our students, is that DePaul has a tight-knit community. That you will see that as you come from different backgrounds and different walks of life, or are at different moments of your life, that you will already have a sense of community the moment that you step foot here at DePaul. That we also do reflect on our experiences. Several of our students study abroad or also do several service trips. And we continuously ask our students to reflect on that type of experience, to reflect on their 4 years here, and to reflect on the way that we want, not only we want to provide service, but also the type of service that is needed from those communities. We also think about service in many different shapes or forms, that they all have a different type of style and a different experience, and that we invite you to be involved in service in whatever way feels comfortable to you. And then we also celebrate. We celebrate life, we celebrate our Vincentian values, and we celebrate the diversity that we have here on campus and that we are really proud of. And the way that our students are involved in service, when I was a student here, I traveled to Tuba City, Arizona. I was in a Native American reservation there. I traveled to El Salvador and Colombia. So those were my type of service opportunities that I had. But students for service, it can mean in different ways. If you are a student interested in business, several of friends that I, were really close and dear to my heart, also traveled to Colombia. And what they were doing is that they were helping a small community, underserved community there, continued building their non-for-profit company, but seeing more on their accountancy end of things. So how did they help build and ensure that there was enough money coming in and also enough money coming out into the community. So that's a different way of thinking of service. We also do have several service days here on campus. For all of our new students, we have New Student Service Day that just happened last week. And then we also have our service day for all of our students here, including staff members. And that happens at the end of the year, closer to May. So there's always different opportunities for our students to be engaged in. We also do have over 300 and different partnerships that we have across the Chicago land area. And it really emphasizes and provides our students, again, this opportunity to really think about going beyond the classroom and creating leaders beyond just your time here at DePaul. Really creating leaders outside of your community. For those of students that are from out of state, might also mean maybe going back to your own community and providing service there. So think of that as an opportunity for everybody. The last thing that I want to leave you with before we move into things that you're going to need before you apply here to DePaul is that I also want you to think about, although we are the largest Catholic university in the nation, we are really proud of that. There are going to be 2 religious domain classes that you have to take when you are a student here, which can vary anywhere between a Catholic studies course to a Buddhism course to a yoga class. Is that at whatever point you are in your spiritual journey, or maybe in your connection to maybe a specific religion, we have over 300 and different interfaith spaces here, 30 interfaith spaces here at DePaul. And it's as little or as much or as not as you want within that connection. So I want you to know that you will have a space here whether you are very connected to that Catholic and our Vincentian values, or whether you're someone still kind of on that journey trying to figure out what that space might look like for you. So now that you've had some general information about DePaul, I ask you to open up your folder and pull out Financing Your Degree. So it's one like blue brochure there, yes. It's called Financing Your Degree here at DePaul. So the next few slides, we're going to talk about some of those important things that you're going to need as you begin your journey in your college search process. If you find that DePaul is the right fit for you, there are going to be a few things here on the side that we're going to talk about, but also we'll first talk about that Financing Your Degree at DePaul brochure. So if you open it up, the first few pages are giving you some general information about financial aid. As a first-generation Latina student myself, it was very important for my family, specifically my mother, to understand the financial aid process, right? For many of you, maybe you are the first in your family to go to college. So your parents might be right now feeling a little bit nervous. How are we going to pay for school? Or even just trying to figure what that process might look like. There's some general information not pertaining only to DePaul that could be of value to you. And then if you continue flipping it over, you will get to a point where you'll see academic or merit-based scholarships on the left-hand side. And then on the right-hand side, you'll see service and leadership. Those are scholarships that we'll talk about in just a few seconds. But here on this slide, you're going to see what is required of you when you decide to apply to DePaul. So we are found on the Common App, so there's not one general application that you need to fill out. It's all in the Common App. And the Common App is what is required, and within the Common App, you will submit your official high school transcripts. Your test scores are optional. Now, we are a test optional institution. We recognize that test scores aren't a true reflection of a student's academic capability, right? There are some students that are stronger academically, but maybe when you start taking that exam, that time component gets you a little bit nervous, right? So for those students, on average, we admit about a 3.5 GPA. Test scores on the ACT, we usually see anywhere between a 23 to a 28. And then we usually see that same equivalent within the SAT, so an 1160 to a 1260. Those are averages. Some students are above that, some students are below that. We also just instituted, new this year, is we do provide our students with self-disclosed test scores, which entail then super scores your test score. So if anyone was thinking about that, we do also super score here at DePaul. But for my students that might be thinking about, I'm thinking that maybe I don't fall within that average of that test score. I do advise you to have another conversation with your high school counselor, and we can also chat about that once you come back from your tour. We do require, again, if you are going to go that test option route, to maybe think about what your GPA looks like, adding some honors or AP level courses into that curriculum, because we want to see that challenge within your curriculum and within that GPA. Okay? And then we also do require a letter of recommendation from your counselor. So that is a requirement. Any additional letters of rec are also welcomed. We usually, if students are going to submit any, we usually see anywhere between 3 or 4. Again, not a requirement, but if you do choose to, we will take those, and any of those that are on file, we do have to read all of those letters of rec. Now that you know what we require of our students, for parents, I know scholarships are very important. So what you see on the left-hand side, those merit-based scholarships, those are what we provide for you as a student. So based on your academic profile, or based on your application, and then if you are submitting your test scores or not, that's when we provide you your academic scholarship if you qualify for one. And then you will see on the right-hand side, service and leadership scholarships. Those are also available for you. So there are going to be some that are available for you to apply into. Those are on a portal that we call our Scholarship Connect portal. And then there are going to be additional service and leadership scholarships you can apply to once you are a student here. So there are different ways for you to have combined scholarship opportunities. In turn, also for all of my FAFSA eligible students, FAFSA opens up October 1st. So that's additional money that you can think of as well. Those are based on grants and maybe any loans that you might be invited to apply for or receive. That's based on FAFSA. If you are FAFSA eligible, again, it opens up October 1st. And we do have important deadlines for you to keep in mind beyond just when FAFSA opens up. So our application deadlines, early action program is November 15th. We do recommend our students, if you're thinking about the largest pool of money, we are on the Common App. It's one general application. You just add our name on there. If there's one deadline I want you to keep in mind is that early action. I really push my students to apply for that early action deadline. Now, if you are unable to, we do still review applications. Our regular notification deadline is February 1st. With early action, it's non-binding, so you don't have to worry about being bound to us or having to pay any additional money if you find that DePaul is not the right fit for you. It's just, again, an early opportunity for you to receive your decision at an earlier stage. And then we have our School of Music and our Theater School. Are any students here interested in music or theater as an academic major? Wonderful. So for our School of Music and our Theater School, just know that they do have, our School of Music has a December 1st deadline, and our Theater School has a February 1st deadline, but Stage Management and Acting have a recommended December 1st deadline. So if you are at all interested in any of those, there's oftentimes an audition or an interview required for depending on what your major is going to be within either of those colleges. Any questions in terms of what we require from our students, what we're looking for in terms of the application, financial aid, scholarships? No questions. Okay. If you see the financing your degree at DePaul, again, I'll be able to answer any questions once you come back from your tour. But there's another page, if you flip that over, it's about the second to last page, that will give you a breakdown of tuition as well. So if you're thinking about what tuition might be, we're a little bit over $38,000, and then room and board is also included in there. So I want you to provide you those resources of once you leave here today, what else can I reflect on, any additional information that might be a little bit more pertinent for my juniors within the next year. And for my seniors, once you begin that application, you might want to reference a couple of the brochures that are inside of your folder. So now that we talked about these next steps, and that you've learned some information, what we require of DePaul, I want you kind of to think about what these last 45 minutes, almost 50 minutes, what that time was like. Right, many of you might have learned about your DePaul story. So
DePaul isn't trying to be like every university in
I want
America.
you to take back those last 10 seconds. My clicker's a little up today, so I do apologize for kind of jumping into that video. But I wanted to give you guys that opportunity to kind of hear and culminating these 45 to 50 minutes that you spent here at DePaul. So that you can hear from not only myself, not only several of our students that were in that video, but also so that introduces the point in time that you're going to have within this tour, right? Where you're going to hear from our student experience, that current student experience about what they might be involved in, what type of internship opportunity they might have right now, what their academic major is, and the type of opportunities that DePaul has provided them. So again, I know that these last 15 minutes have been a little rough with this clicker, so I do apologize. But I want to give you the opportunity to also take some time time to reflect about how this college search, this story that you're about to build, and these next 4 years, how they're really going to determine, really, I think, your next step in life, in this next chapter. So I hope that DePaul can be a right fit for you. I hope that once you go on your tour, you learn even more about how DePaul's resources can help add to your life story and really give you those great chapters in your life. So I really do hope that this life story, that you make it epic, and that you enjoy your time here at DePaul today. I will be here to answer any questions that you might have once you come back from your tour. So what I'm going to do right now is give you just about 1 to 2 minutes. If you need to run to the restroom really quick,